Good day, ladies and gentlemen. This is Dr. Ferrer, your professor in research in social studies. Our topic this morning is on the part 1 of the research design. So it is important that the researcher selects the appropriate study design to minimize errors and avoid reaching wrong conclusions. What is a research design? This is the arrangement of conditions for the collection and analysis of the data in a manner that aims to combine relevance to the research purpose with economy and procedure. Your research design is the blueprint of your study. It will guide you in the collection, measurement, and the analysis of your data. That was according to Cooper and Sandler in 2001. For Sanchez, it is a plan or course of action which the research follows in order to answer the research question or questions or to solve the research problem. So now your research design becomes the basis for determining what data will be collected, how they will be analyzed and interpreted. So there are lots of design that you can choose from as you pursue your research study. You may start with the survey research. Under this design are several methods, and you may choose among these methods that you think is best suited to your study. So a survey research is a collection of information from a sample of individuals that responses to a question. It can be in the following forms. One is, it can be qualitative or quantitative. When we say qualitative, this uses non-numerical data. And when we say quantitative, of course, this uses numerical data or an empirical investigation via the use of statistical or mathematical techniques. You may employ also opinion research. This is actually developed for market researches via the use of television or radio, where consumer goods or political issues are being decided by the respondents. Another is perceptions research, especially with attitudes and beliefs of people or your respondents in particular. When we say using this method is to gain access to understanding and meaning of experiences, and their interpretation will become their truth regarding an issue. Or you may also employ inventory method in your research as you see fit to your present study. Or you may use this method of using mail, the internet, personal interview, or phone interview. And I guess you are all familiar with this method. Next is the ex post facto research. This is a research design in which the investigation starts after the fact has occurred without interference from the researcher. So in this case, the researcher is not allowed to interfere with what is happening in this study that he is investigating. Another design is the use of secondary data sets. This is where data has been collected through primary sources. and made it available to researchers to use for their own research. By the word itself, secondary data, this means that you will be consulting books or other printed materials as source of your data. Then another is the historical design. This is being done by analyzing past events, and out of that, the researcher develops present concepts and conclusion. Now let's talk about the qualitative design. And from the qualitative design, you may employ the focus group design. This is a market research method that brings together small number of people and for them not to provide feedback to a certain product or to a certain concept or service, or in business to a certain marketing strategy. This is usually used by business in their market research. Then another is the phenomenological research. This describes the meaning of a lived experience of a phenomenon for several individuals. The purpose of doing this research is to describe the commonalities of the experiences of your respondents. Or you may use survey through interview. This is being used to uncover the meanings of central themes in the world of your subjects or respondents from their own point of view. And of course, you may also use the observation method. This can be a participant observation or a non-participant observation. We have defined it already in our previous videos when we say participant or non-participant. Participant observation is where the researcher form part of the data collection process for the study, while the non-participant observation is one where the researcher only serves as an observer and do not directly participate in the activities of the respondents he is observing. Next is the use of the combined qualitative and quantitative methods, or another term used for this is the mixed method. So, mixed method can be a combination of both the qualitative and quantitative approaches. You may use multiple measures called triangulation. This is the application of the combination of several research methods in the study of the same phenomenon. By the word itself, triangulation, you may employ three methods in your study, while the use of interviews and standardized scales is actually the use of identical procedures to collect or to score or to interpret data. Or you may use self-report, inventories, and interviews. When we say self-report, this is a psychological test in which a person fills out a survey or a questionnaire with or without the help of the investigator. This often asks about personal interests, about values, about symptoms or behavior or traits of the respondents. Another is the mixture or combination of quantitative data in a case study or an observation. So, as defined earlier, a case study is an up-close or an in-depth and detailed examination of a particular case, while an observation, as what I have said earlier, can be a participant or a non-participant method. Another is the content or the documentary analysis. When we say content analysis, this is used to identify patterns in recorded communication. So, you collect data from set of text or some written or oral or visual sources, while documentary analysis is where documents are being reviewed by analysts to assess an appraisal theme. This usually involves coding contents. So examples given in the slide is that you can analyze contents of brochures or contents of TV programs or a comparison of ethnicity in a series of journals or language types used to foster gender equity, such as the language used by LGBT. Those are examples that use as basis in preparing your paper if you want to use the content or the documentary analysis. Then another is the pre-experimental design. This is known as the simplest form of research design. Either a single group or multiple groups are observed subsequent to some agent or some treatment that are being presumed to cause some change in the experiment. So under this, you can use case study or bias or post-full sampling. So a case study is considered biased because sample is collected where some of the intended population have a lower or a higher sampling probability than others, because in a case study, the researcher has to use post-full sampling that is seen to be biased form of sampling. Then you may also use the quasi-experimental research, deemed appropriate to your problem. But this quasi-experimental research aims to establish a cause and effect relationship between the independent variable and the dependent variable. This is used when randomized selection and or assignment cannot be achieved. So, as I said earlier, this is often a descriptive or a comparison study. In short, this is useful in situations where true experiments cannot be used for some ethical or practical purposes. Or you may also use the experimental design. This is most appropriate when random selection in assignment can be achieved, because this design adheres to scientific research and it speaks as to how participants are allocated to different groups in an experiment. And of course, there are still other designs and considerations that you might use as it fit to your study. One is program evaluation. This is actually a research method for collecting, analyzing, and using information to answer questions about projects, policies, and programs, particularly about their effectiveness and efficiency. This can involve both qualitative and quantitative method. Then another is meta-analysis or model building. This is quantitative, formal, epidemiological study design, which is used to systematically assess the results of previous research to derive conclusions about the body of the research. This study is based on randomized, controlled, or clinical trials. And finally, we have reliability and validity, especially in the use of the instrument in your research. And this reliability and validity will be discussed in the second part of the discussion of the topic on research design. So thank you, class, for this morning. See you in the next video. Check on your work text regarding the application of these theories that we have discussed this morning. And also, that serves as your activity for the topic.